Quiet. Hey, Joe, what do you got for us tonight?
Tonight, we continue our series on the abduction and murder of Harding College professor Ruby Stapleton. In part one, we covered Ruby's life and the night of her disappearance, as well as nearly. Let's start that over. Sorry, I mistyped it. Is that bad? This is the real crap you get, right? Tonight, we continue our series on the abduction and murder of Harding College professor Ruby Stapleton. In part one, we covered Ruby's life and the night of her disappearance, as well as the early stages of the investigation. Tonight, we're going to delve into the very interesting and complicated life of her husband, Ray Stapleton. We're also going to cover the discovery of Ruby's body and some interesting eyewitness accounts that were reported later in the investigation. Was that usable?
Quiet your
Sit back for this.
Ever since the Earth has circled the sun, there have been fantastic tales of wonder and mystery that the fate of heart dare not discuss. But three brave, uninformed souls have the brass to tackle every extraordinary happenstance, from the modern age to the dawn of Mantis.
Welcome to Dawn of Mantis. True crime, mysteries, and more. I'm Ivan with Joe and Sam. Hey, Joe, we're going to do a part 2 to your part 1. Part 1 is a great episode, Joe.
Hey, thanks to you guys.
So, listen, you teased about this guy that we're going to be talking about during this episode. You teased the entire episode. I'm going to call you out on this a little bit. You did a great job. But you teased about this guy the entire episode, and then you're like, and we'll get to him on episode 2.
You got to leave him wanting more, Sonny Jim.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, that's how you get him come back.
Fair enough. All right. But we do get to hear about him on episode 2, right? It's not going to be an episode 3 thing, is it?
No. We're going to get to meet Ray and know all about this guy on episode 2.
I will leave this studio.
I will quit the podcast.
I will push my mic aside and leave.
Normally, we just push it aside to laugh.
That's true. And laugh. That's what I'll normally do. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
So, let's get into this. So, we won't really recap much, but if you do what you want to do, Joe, if you want to recap a little bit.
Well, let's just
be you, bro.
Ruby was a well-known and loved figure in Searcy. You know, she was a professor at Harding College, and, you know, it was October 8th, 1963. She goes to do some laundry, and around 10:40 to 10:55 p.m. on that night, she just
Vanishes.
I love it. I love a good disappearance, man.
Well, we don't love it, but...
Well, I do, though. I'm sad for the people that disappear, but God.
We wish it didn't happen, but since it did, we're going to talk about it.
It's so, like, I don't know, man. Ever since I was a kid, just... Well, I had a family member disappear.
Yeah.
And it was just the whole thing of, how can someone just vanish, man? How can someone just disappear and no one knows where they are?
Yeah.
Right? So in his case, it was still like it's a never, you don't know to this day. We will know. It's only a few weeks until we find out what happened to Miss Stapleton.
Spoiler.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
All right. Yeah, let's get into this.
Let's meet Ray.
Go.
It's
Finally.
a shame about Ray. In the stone under the dust, his name is still engraved. I'm going to sing the whole song. No. The Lemonheads, though, look it up if you don't know.
Yeah, I didn't.
Emmett Ray Stapleton was born in Hunt County, Texas on February 5th, 1905. 100 years ago, man, almost.
Yeah, almost.
He finished school in Wolf City and then moved 300 miles northeast of Morrilton to attend Harding College. And this, of course, is where he met Ruby Lowry.
Okay.
That was her name at the time. They married in June of 1935 and relocated to Alabama, where Ruby worked at a school and Ray worked as a treasurer for an apple orchard company.
Okay.
He was the treasurer for an apple orchard company.
Keeping track of how many apples you're selling.
Right? A lot of math problems.
Oh, yeah.
Like in elementary school.
Yeah.
Billy has 5 apples. Johnny eats 3. How many does Billy have?
It's probably like that, but more complicated. Hopefully, if it was a successful company.
Hopefully so.
I guess the statement's done for this month.
As
Turns
treasurer,
out it's 2 apples. Two apples, I say.
As treasurer of our apple orchard company, I want to know one thing, Ray. If I had 5 apples, and if someone ate 3, how many would I have left? 2. By God, you've got the job. That was the extent. Ray and Ruby were an odd pairing. They were
apples and oranges.
Apple.
Sorry. Continue on, sir.
Opposites attract.
I won't be no more trouble.
That's what they always say. Opposites attract.
That's right.
Oh, by the way, from Alabama, they returned to Arkansas and Harding College in about 1940.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know why I said about. It was right in 1940.
1940. Yeah. Gotcha.
We've established that Ruby was basically straight-laced, pretty serious, no nonsense type of gal. Okay. Yep. To the contrary, Ray was a larger-than-life character, boisterous and silly, and loved being the center of attention.
Old Crazy Ray.
Crazy Ray. He and Ruby were quite the polar opposites, and you'd think the sterner, more serious Ruby would have more or less worn the pants in the relationship, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? We all know what that means.
I do.
But 1960s culture dictated that the man was almost always the authority figure in the relationship. Mm-hmm. And Ruby seemed to have adhered to this social norm of the time. So she was like, you're a goofy dumbass, but I'm going to, it's the early 60s, and I'm going to let you rule the roost. They kind of had to.
Yeah.
Back in that day.
Yep.
You remember hell.
Well, I don't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
We were there. You remember, man. Shit, if you really think about it, we only missed it by like 12 or 15 years.
No, yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy how close.
Yeah.
Not very
And
far.
in still cases, it exists still. So
For sure. But think about like I Love Lucy.
Oh, yeah. You got a lot of explaining to do.
It's so weird. Yeah. Oh, Lucy, you got the explaining to do. And then he would actually like put her over his lap and spank her on certain episodes because she had spent more than her allowance or overspent her budget or something, or she
Yeah.
had tried to dress like a guy to get into the
Tried to get into the show.
yeah.
She did that a few times.
She wanted to be in the show so bad.
Why didn't you just let her in the show?
Yeah. But, oh, Ricky, I promise I won't do it again. I'm like, damn, that's different than today, right? My wife has never been like, oh, shucks. Sorry, Joey.
What if she was like scheming just to get on the podcast? Like,
She's been on the podcast.
yeah, but I mean, she like came in with a disguise. I was a witness in a true crime.
Yeah.
She has like a mustache.
We have our guest, Steve Coppinger, back. Wait a god-darn minute.
Wait a second.
You're not Steve.
You got a lot of explaining to do.
And then I'd spank her over my lap. You hear that, Jessica? I'll show you who rules the roost.
I mean, it'd go the other way around, probably.
Oh,
Joe, you got
stop.
a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, you have 20 minutes to stop this behavior. No, I'm just joking. So yeah, it's the early '60s. So even though Ruby is the more straight-laced, serious one, she leans into the role of the early '60s wife, and she lets Ray kind of be the whatever, leader of the home.
Just Ray being Ray.
You're right. Just let Ray be Ray.
Yep.
You don't want to though, because there's a lot to that, but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Whatever it was that happened in Harding to cause Ray to essentially lose his job, it also effectively ended his marriage to Ruby. And we will get into what that was. Is that what you're going to ask?
Is that going to be on this episode?
Yes.
Though? Okay.
I promise.
Okay.
I've been teasing it for like
All right,
2
all right.
hours.
That's another thing. I just remembered that you didn't tell us from the last one. Okay. It's fine.
All right. I bet people, since they've listened to the first episode, they just Googled it and they already know by now. They're like, I'm not waiting.
No, our listeners wouldn't do that.
I hope they don't.
They stay true to us.
But, so like Ray takes off. They were still legally married, but only because of Ruby's strict adherence to her faith. And Ruby obviously held the radical interpretation that divorce is never an option.
Yeah, and then there's the whole thing, if she's a professor, she's probably using the last name. So she didn't want to change that. That would be, that would be tough.
Right.
In that field.
Yeah, it's a different time, man. You got to.
I don't want to take that professor. I've never heard of him. Yeah, you have. That's.
It was Stapleton.
Yeah.
Stapleton, Lowry Stapleton.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to look at these cases through the lens of 2024 or whatever. Man, this was a long time ago.
She left Ray high and dry.
Right.
Oh, I don't think I like her.
Right. This was over 60 years ago. It was very different.
Yeah.
It's a very different thing going on back then. All right. So, where am I at? Instead, Ray had left, leaving hundreds. Hold on. Instead, Ray had left, living hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles away, while Ruby carried on in Cersei. So he was all over the place, all over the country, teaching at different colleges. Never one place for very long. And again, I hate to say it again, but we will get into that in a little bit. I promise.
It sounds like the priest stuff.
I promise.
Spotlight.
One of the oldest cliches in true crime is the spouse did it, right? I've said that before. I'm like, hey, listeners out there in the pod, if your spouse dies, you're gonna be blamed. You better know where you were at the time. You're gonna be interviewed. You're gonna be maybe arrested. It's so common that the spouse did it, unfortunately.
Well, if they weren't Scott Petersons of the world, then maybe it wouldn't. Or Cohee, what's his name?
Brian Cohee Jr. Well, he killed the random homeless guy.
Oh no, who's the guy that went to Home Depot and did like the?
Oh, that
I just
guy.
killed somebody.
Brian
shopping
Walsh.
Walsh, yeah.
Stupidest murderer ever.
Stupidest murderer ever.
Go listen to that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna kill your wife, I don't suggest you do, but if you do, don't Google like how to get away with killing my wife. This guy was the stupidest person ever. He literally Googled like how to dispose of a 5'2", 137-pound brunette female.
Where's your evidence that I killed her?
That was a coincidence that I Googled that. I was just curious.
Wondering. You ever just wonder?
You ever just wonder? Yeah, that was Brian Walsh.
I'm going to be tried for being an inquiring mind. Well, I guess we just shouldn't be allowed to think anymore.
Curiosity killed the cat, but it shouldn't kill the husband. I just was wondering.
I pictured his face when you said that.
He's so stupid
It's
looking.
a very punchable face.
I just want to punch him in the
Not
face.
just because he's a murderer. Yeah, probably because he's a murderer. But he does have a very punchable face.
Yeah.
I don't say that about anyone, though.
No.
Just him.
Well, Alfalfa, remember?
That's a kid. I can't say that.
Well, growing up, man. We were talking about Alfalfa grown up.
Well, yeah.
And that's a punchable face, too. I said that on that episode. I said that on that episode. I don't care.
I'd knock that hair right down. I'd knock that cowlick right off of him.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, it does unfortunately seem to be the case that the spouse did it. You know, you would think like in a perfect world,
Yeah.
if someone died, everyone would be like, well, obviously the spouse didn't. The spouse would be the last person on earth who would want to hurt their partner. But it's not that way. It's, you know what I mean?
Well, there's a million motives.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Life
it could be somebody
insurance.
irrational. It's like, well, they just put a spoon in the peanut butter and take a bite and then throw it in the sink. Like, for somebody, that could be a motive.
It was the straw that broke the camel's back.
It was the spoon that broke the camel's
Yeah,
back.
I've been listening to this bastard chew his cereal over the breakfast table for 20 years, and one day I just snapped. You know what I mean? I think that's what happens sometimes. But when a spouse dies,
I think it could add up.
it could add up. They
To
also need to
somebody
look.
That's a murderer.
A lot of times, when a spouse dies or when a person dies, they look at their spouse. I want you to look at two things: did they have an affair, like a side person going on, like Scott Peterson?
Yep.
Or did they have? Was there a life insurance thing involved?
Oh yeah.
You're pretty much gonna.
Or did they have both? And we've had cases where they had both.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I just like, if I could just get rid of my wife, me and Sheila could just live forever on that $150K life insurance. No one will even suspect a thing.
Why does that make me a bad guy? I just want to be happy.
No one will suspect a thing.
What is it, John Lovitz? I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? I forgot what character that was.
I
but
can't
you
remember
can say
either, but it's so good.
it. Anyway, continue on, sir.
Oh, concerning the disappearance of Ruby Stapleton, Ray could not have been personally responsible. I want to get that out of the way right now, right? As freaky and outlandish as I'm about to reveal Ray to be, it was impossible that he personally had anything to do.
The solidest of solid alibis.
The
right?
solidest, bro. The solidest, right? I used the word bro, which is gross. So you know I'm serious. I had to go there.
I get it, bro.
Several dozen students and faculty verified that on the night of October 8th, Ray was instructing a late class at Superior State College in Superior, Wisconsin, which sits near the westernmost tip of Lake Superior. Nearly what? Why you
Just
That's a
superior.
that's a lot
superior,
of superiors.
superior.
God dang, are you superior? I'm going to read that again. He was instructing classes at Superior State College in Superior, Wisconsin, which sits at the westernmost tip of Lake Superior.
It almost sounds fake now. It's too
Superior.
many superiors.
It's
They're like going to cancel each other. They want it to be a superior alibi to all the others.
The more you say the word superior, it just sounds weird as
Superior.
hell.
Superior.
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 Superior. Is that even a
Ooh,
word?
I'm never saying that word.
Superior.
Superior. I don't like that word.
Sounds
I
like
hate
it sounds like a cut of diamond on a ring. Superior. Superior.
Yeah, I don't
All right.
like it.
Well, it's no matter what, it's nearly 1,000 miles away from Searcy, Arkansas.
Yeah.
So there's
okay.
no way in hell that Ray could have went from Superior to Searcy to hurt Ruby.
magma.
Liquid on magma.
Anyway, keep going, Dr. Evil.
Lasers. However, he was aware of her disappearance from the get-go, having received a call from son Glenn Dewey.
Yeah,
You
I
better
forgot about
damn use both my names. Glenn Dewey.
Dewey.
The following morning. Ray had... Huh?
Okay, yeah, I get you.
Glenn Dewey.
I'm caught up.
Say it.
Glenn Dewey.
Thank you. Ray had immediately... I want to hear you say it from that filthy mouth.
I'm not your puppet. I'm not going to say what you tell me. I'm not your parrot. I should have said Perry first.
Ray had immediately left Wisconsin on a flight to Memphis, and from there he'd driven the rest of the way to Searcy. He arrived on the evening of the 9th, about 24 hours after his estranged wife's disappearance.
Okay.
So he was in town pretty quick. Obviously, the police were chomping at the bit to get a statement from Ray, and they conducted their first interview with him the day after he came to Searcy. The following is an excerpt from that interview. Okay?
Go.
Here we go. This is from the police file.
Okay.
E.R. Stapleton, husband of the victim, was interviewed in Searcy, Arkansas at 11 a.m. on October 10th, 1963, and related that he was then engaged in teaching at Superior State College in Superior, Wisconsin, where he had been employed since the first week of September 1963. Stapleton continued by stating he had last seen his wife during the last few days of August 1963, at the time of his departure from Searcy en route to Superior, Wisconsin.
You know, at one time they probably wanted it to be Superior Man. They're like, man, this will be a great name for this hero. He's got everything superior about this guy.
You can leap buildings in a single bound. I can leap states in a single bound.
I know, but that's got to be the genesis of that word.
Yeah, superior. It's like one step above.
Super.
Superior.
I wonder if it's just like an abbreviation for that.
It's literally superior is like superior. I'm superior than you.
You're right. It's above it. We've solved that mystery.
It's superior. I'm superior man. I don't even care about kryptonite.
Like you said super ear man. Giant ears.
I can hear from 1,000 miles away. That's my superpower.
If you're talking smack, I'll know.
I don't know. I heard what you said about my plaid sweater. I thought it looked good.
Episode over. Case solved. Continue on.
So he drives from Superior, Wisconsin, and he...
I hate that word so much.
Yeah, I'm never saying it again. I swear to God. And he had communicated with Ruby, both by phone and letter on 2 or 3 occasions after his departure. When questioned about his opinion regarding the victim's disappearance, he replied that his only thought was abduction by transients, possibly Mexicans.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm
This
saying
guy
what
wasn't
he
superior
said.
to anyone.
He was white superior. Piece of shit. He literally, I'm just reading what he said. Don't cancel me.
No,
2024.
Yeah.
He said that she could have been abducted by transients, possibly Mexicans who travel the area between Illinois and Texas. I don't know. Is that really what they were doing? Were Mexicans traveling between Illinois and Texas in 1963?
Seems like there's a lot of directions you can go. That doesn't seem like a
we need to look at Google Maps.
Yeah, but I mean, I can visualize it. I mean, I know what the...
Isn't Illinois like over here to the east?
It's like Texas is here.
Why would you go through Arkansas? Oh, maybe so. Maybe
No,
so.
Illinois is a little more west, isn't it?
Nah, I don't think so, man.
Well, I just drove up there in June.
Look up Google Maps, and you're going to find if you go from Arkansas kind of northeast, you're going to pass... He had a point.
Yeah, but...
It was right through Texas, Arkansas, Illinois.
Yeah, but where are they going and why?
I don't know. And are they passing through Searcy specifically? I don't know.
It's just
it is.
Slightly
See,
east.
I told you, man, right through there. But
I get all confused when it comes to these
yeah,
states
but that
up
just
there.
doesn't seem. I don't know how to put it into words, but it doesn't seem plausible. It doesn't seem like enough would be doing that to say, well, this is what happened. One of them did it.
well, on the Mexican thing that Ray said, okay, don't cancel me. He elaborated on his theory by stating that his wife was dark in complexion, which she was, and had the appearance of being of Spanish descent. So according to Ray Stapleton,
This is very simplistic. Keep going.
There were rogue Mexicans traveling from Texas to Illinois that apparently were kidnapping anybody else
That looked like them?
that looked like them. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's what he said. That's what his theory was.
It's just a way for some guy like him to make another race of people look very simple.
You know, I think Mexicans, when they're traveling through the United States, very commonly go from Texas to Illinois. And if you look on a map, they go right through Arkansas. Dare I say Cersei. And I'm going to further elaborate by saying that when they saw Ruby at the laundromat, they thought there's a fellow Mexican as ourselves, and they abducted her. As Mexicans obviously do, in my theory.
And there was a language barrier, and she couldn't convey that she's not supposed to go with them on their northward journey.
I don't know, man.
No is no in Spanish too.
It is, yeah, same thing. Yeah. So it's stupid. Let's just say that, why did he say that? Maybe he really thought it, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're at in Illinois. Did it say?
No, he just said Illinois, just from Texas to Illinois, and they possibly abducted her and took her because
he's just basically my grandpa that would just blame everything on another race of people. Whenever his own sons have been in jail more than anyone I've known in my life.
Ah, your uncles.
Yeah.
I love the stories of your uncles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've given us so many good stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are they doing now? Are they okay? Are they in jail?
I don't know. I think that in their older age, they've settled down.
Hopefully so.
Hopefully they've found peace.
I hope so. Or they're just too old to raise hell anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So, yeah, Ray remarked that his wife had led a golden life. What do you see? What do you see?
You would go straight through Cersei.
You're kidding me.
No.
Did Ray have a point? What?
I mean, you cannot get to Illinois from Texas. I picked, hold on, what did I pick?
This is monumental.
I picked Laredo, Texas, because it's right on the
right
line.
Right, yeah.
Well,
and you go and just Illinois is all I put in.
Wow.
And you go directly through Cersei.
Wow. That is...
Well, I mean, yeah, and if you were like a bird, you would fly that way too. So, I mean, to be fair, yes. And I'm not...
If you were like a bird, that's the plane right here.
Yeah, but so if you... Wait, okay, so if you were a bird, you wouldn't go that way.
No, you would go directly over Northwest Arkansas.
Meaning
like
this...
Bentonville, exactly.
Interstate system has come a long way since then, so it would have been two-lane roads everywhere. So chances are maybe that wouldn't be the preferred path in 1963.
Okay, so this is judging by 2024 roads, right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
But I mean, I would imagine it's
60
somewhere
years
along
ago.
that same line. I mean, I'm not saying that God doesn't have a point, but it's just like if A is true, B must be true. No, that's not always the case. Like, okay, so some people go through that corridor, A, but doesn't mean it doesn't mean that they did.
Right. You're saying that Ray had probably noticed, as well as many other peoples of Cersei, that a lot of people of Spanish descent were passing through there on their way up north. So he was obviously maybe a little racist.
Well, yeah, and it's the thing where like my lawn flamingo's gone. I know it was them.
Right.
It's just like it's like solid logic to them.
Where'd your wife go? It was the Mexicans. It was the Mexicans that did it. That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So listen, I want to make this point. Let's get past that. At first, Ray spoke very highly of Ruby. Okay. Like I read a while ago, he said she had led a golden life. She was very dedicated to church and school and had constantly worked toward a goal in her life. He denied when questioned that he was separated from his wife due to marital troubles. No, everything's fine. I just happen to live in Wisconsin of my own volition.
Sure.
He was quick to express that he loved his wife very much. He kept in very close contact with her and the family, and his only reason for working far away from home was due to a disagreement in policy with Harding College, and which we'll get into very soon, I swear to God. There was a very different policy that he had in Harding College that they didn't approve of.
Okay.
Stapleton then remarked that he was doing his best to bear up under his wife's disappearance and make the best of the situation because of his daughter's grief. Marie Claire. Stapleton states he wants to ensure investigators of his complete cooperation in this matter, and at this point in the conversation, he began to cry. Yeah. After the tears were dried away, this is what it says in the report. He made the remark, his wife was loved by everyone, and his only complaint ever was she had lost her sense of values and appeared more dedicated to the church and school than to her home. She's just so dedicated to everything else. She didn't have no time left to devote to her home.
Okay.
She gave so much of herself away. She didn't have none left to herself to give to me at the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like a Sawyer Brown song.
Sawyer, cue the rubber guitar.
All these years.
The bee bender.
All these years. That's what that song is about.
No,
Damn.
that's Diamond Rio.
Oh, that's Diamond Rio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Whatever, Sam. Don't you ever.
I was wondering why you went there.
Don't you ever correct me again, brother.
I was
I'm
like,
kidding.
wait a
He's right.
second. What's
I
he
got my
talking about?
90s country bands confused.
Yeah, you did.
But Sawyer Brown, all these years, is an amazing song.
It is an amazing song.
Did he kill the guy when he turned the light on and found the guy laying
I
on
don't
his
think
wife?
so. I didn't think it
The
went that
lyrics
way.
kind of lead me
You
to.
think? Well, there's a music video.
And because he said, neither is this guy. So I'm like, oh, man.
No, I think that he's talking about himself on that part.
Oh, I
but
thought he was
I'd
talking
have
about
to-
the dude.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to go back to.
She said, you're not the man you used to be. And he said, neither is this guy. So he's talking about the other guy. What did he just do to that guy? Why was he not the man he used to be? Did he just kill him? Because he turned on the lights and
No, I
found him
think he's
lying
just
there.
saying that he's the same as he's just a normal guy, just like he's a normal guy.
Call Sawyer Brown. Have you ever ran sound for him?
Yeah.
You have.
Well,
You got his
no,
number?
I didn't run sound
Do
for
you
him,
have
but
his number?
yes, I've worked with
Even
him.
though his name's not Sawyer Brown. It's a
No.
right. What's the guy's name? Mark. Mark something. He's amazing. He's a good front man. Do you have his number?
He's a very good front man. He
Yeah.
dances around all over the place.
Oh yeah, even at like 58 or however old he
Yeah.
is. Do you have his number?
No.
Oh, I don't sound ridiculous saying that because Sam actually has like lots of numbers. He's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to say on the podcast, but you have some numbers, bro. You have some numbers. So it's not dumb that I'm asking. Do you have his number? Because Sam has some. I'm just going to say Sam has some numbers. Sam hung out
got
with
the
Billy Bob
digits.
Thornton for like hours, dude.
No, not ours.
Okay. All right.
Hey, you hung out with Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, that's cool. Theo Vaughn's very good. I hung out with Theo Vaughn before
I
he
ran
blew
sound
up.
for him. That you hung
You
out
ran
for.
sound for
He
him.
was
I hung
on
out
the
with him.
cusp of blowing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had not blown up yet, or else he would.
He was already trucking hams.
Yes. That's the yeah. We watched his comedy and almost pissed ourselves because he was so funny. And then
My
he,
side almost
Yes.
split.
yes, and then he came and watched me play music, and then he hung out with me and my wife for like an hour, and it was freaking awesome. He had not blown up yet, but he left his phone with us to go take pictures with fans. He's like, "Hey, watch my phone, bro," and he slid his phone over to me. To this day, because he had already been on Rogan's podcast, like to this day, I was like, I wish I would have just got into his contacts and just got some numbers, man. You know what I mean? Because he was over there.
How could you ever use it? How could you ever use them?
Hey,
Hey!
I don't know how. I
Then
didn't
there'd
think
be
that
an
far.
episode of him on his podcast. Be like, well, there's this day somebody got my phone.
Somebody got my phone, bruh.
Yeah.
Got all the contacts off of it and started calling up all my comedy friends. All of a sudden, Joey Diaz is like, "What's going on with this cocksucker?" Sorry. I'm sorry. We're on live, but that's what Joey Diaz says. That's like his tagline. That's his. Ready to start again?
Let's go.
Ran sound for Joey Diaz once.
You ran sound for Joey Diaz too. Yeah, that's right. We're so glad to have you on the team, Sam.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But he
this
was
is totally.
He was super nice.
Oh, I met him. I was there.
I think he went to Walgreens in town the
Really?
day he was here. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he just walked into Walgreens all by himself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, no, we saw his comedy, and we did the meet and greet.
You're talking Theo Vaughn again?
No, I'm talking Joey.
Oh,
this
you
time.
were there for Joey Diaz?
I got a picture of me and Joey Diaz. He pulls me in close. He's like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "It's Joey also." And he's like, "That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Let's give a picture. Come here."
Unless
was
that's a
great.
question I can't ask on live stream. Remind me after. I'll ask you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
I almost asked it. Oh, I'm glad I didn't.
Look right in that camera when that's that question.
I almost did.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Ray's explanation of why he hadn't lived with his wife for nearly a decade seemed odd, and his theory of rogue Mexicans abducting Ruby for her olive complexion was also a little...
That was a Star Wars. Oh no, Rogue Squadron. Sorry.
Ray seemed sincere enough, though the police were far from relaxing their suspicions. Then, barely an hour after that same interview, something crazy happened.
What?
Freaking crazy.
What?
Are you ready for this?
I guess.
Something happened that would be the catalyst of the revelation of Ray's bizarre and suspicious lifestyle. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
A phone call had been placed to the Stapleton residence from a person demanding money. So a call comes into Ruby's house. Ray picks up. Where's the money, Ray? We want the money. Seriously. Ray was able to keep the call going long enough for the cops to trace the call, and it came from 700 miles away at a phone booth outside a drugstore in Lubbock, Texas.
Wow.
Cue Buddy Holly.
We're back to Lubbock.
That's right, baby. As Ray continued the call, the Lubbock PD was notified, and they made it there in time, and they apprehended 2 men. Okay.
That's going to be the only time in history that the trap and trace worked.
Yeah, I know,
Normally
right?
it's like, we didn't have them on line long enough. Every time I've ever seen that.
Nope.
So it actually worked. Okay, so they rushed to the phone booth and arrested this person.
Yeah, Ray kept them online long enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me about you.
I don't know how.
What makes you tick? That had to be a long time in 1964, 63.
63. Do you have an oddly unfounded suspicion of Mexicans? I do, because I'm Ray Stapleton. Let's talk about that long enough for the call to be traced.
I'm racist Stapleton. I'm Ray Stapleton.
My middle name is Sist.
Racist Stapleton. It's an odd name, but it works.
It works. It's ironic as well because I do look down upon other races.
When I was a baby, they knew. So
They knew
named
already.
me Sis.
This guy's gonna look down on other races. I can tell. I shouldn't start trying to read yet. Hold on. Are we ready?
That's
So for those of you like watching on live stream, there's probably only like 2, 3 people, if any, probably nobody. This is what happens, man. I want you to appreciate.
There's a couple.
I want you to appreciate the nonsense that Sam has to listen through every episode and edit out. Like he edits this crap out when we go off the rails. There's so much you guys have no freaking clue that this poor guy has to edit out.
State your full name, Ray Sist
Stapleton.
That's so funny, man. I love it.
When he was a kid, his mom, he got in trouble. Racist Stapleton, you come here this moment, young man. How many times have I told you not to play jacks in the alley when you have homework to be done? Yeah, it's... but that whole argument is stupid because his name was Emmett Ray Stapleton. His middle name was Ray.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to poo-poo on that.
That's
theory.
okay.
The FBI quickly snatched these 2 guys, Gray Chandler and Carl Karash. That was
Okay.
their names. Karash. They did not deny calling the Stapleton residence to ask them. Yeah, we called. We called Ray to ask for money. You're damn right we did.
Was he involved in like gambling and stuff?
Yeah.
Were those bookies?
Ray was involved in a lot of stuff.
Okay.
A lot of stuff.
I
Oh,
can tell
my
it
God.
was based on your tone. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're grunting, you're not talking about pleasant stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
He
just...
donated time down at the soup kitchen.
He was on the level, he was. No, yeah, that's... So listen, they said, yeah, we called Ray. Yeah, we asked for money. No, it had nothing to do with Ruby's disappearance. In fact, we didn't even know Ruby was missing. We had no idea. So we had called to speak to Ray.
Neat accent for Lubbock.
Yeah, that's what I
Lubbock,
was.
Texas.
I
yeah, we
know.
didn't have any idea.
Oh,
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Maybe they were from the Bronx. I don't know.
I did. Well, yeah.
When it was really like, we didn't have no damn clue. Right, Ruby was gone. And
Hey, maybe they had it backwards. Maybe they were coming from Illinois and down to Lubbock.
so they were Northerners. They were Yankees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going the other direction.
Yeah, that's right.
We didn't even know Ruby, eh? That's like Canada, though. That's too far north.
Yeah.
Dial it back a little bit.
Right. Turns out, not only did they know Ray, they had lived with Ray. Yeah, they had lived with Ray. Carl said he'd met Ray the previous spring in North Carolina where Ray was teaching at the time. Remember I said he bounced everywhere?
Sure.
He said he was walking down the street when Ray pulled up in a pink Cadillac and offered him a ride. What?
I don't know. It's just an odd thing. It's an odd picture for me.
What are
to
you,
paint.
Elvis Presley?
Yeah, I know.
Carl accepted, and thus began their relationship. Carl began living with Ray, and the pair were joined by Carl's friend, Gray Chandler, soon after.
Da, 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 da.
The three had lived together for just a few weeks before Carl and Gray moved on to Lubbock. So they crashed at Ray's place for a while, and they went to Lubbock. Since then, the only time either had seen Ray again was in late August when Gray met with Ray and Ruby for lunch while they were in Little Rock.
Okay.
Was that a lot? Did everybody get that?
Got it.
Okay. It is not known exactly what Ruby was or wasn't aware of concerning the two men's relationship, and I'll go ahead and say it because everyone's thinking it. Ray was gay.
Okay.
Ray was gay.
Okay.
He was having sexual relationships with these fellers.
Okay.
Okay? And
Got
that's
it.
cool, man. That's fine. We ain't judging that.
No.
It's fine. It's fine. But in 1963, socially, it was not fine. And therein lies the problem.
So the first thing I would do is buy a pink Cadillac.
Are you trying to hide your gayness? Buy a pink Cadillac
It's totally fun.
and listen to show tunes on blast with the top down. No one will suspect a thing. But yeah, so that's why he was picking up guys in his pink Cadillac and inviting that, hey, you want to come live at my place for a while? You know, that was what was going down.
And
they're
what about the money component?
Yeah, that plays in, bro. That plays in.
Well,
That plays
I'm
in.
wondering how.
Upon further questioning, Ray admitted as much to detectives and also said that he'd been secretly meeting men. Ray admitted as much to detectives and also that he'd been secretly meeting men for sexual encounters for the past 30 years.
Well,
Basically ever since he always, even when he first met Ruby, you know.
the university couldn't condone it, so he had to
Exactly.
go to other places. But then when the other places found out about it, they also sent him packing.
You got it, brother.
Gotcha.
You got it. Yeah, in those days, you couldn't do that,
Yep.
right?
No.
I mean, you could, but it wasn't socially accepted
Yeah.
as it is
exactly.
today.
Exactly.
But what this did mean as far as her disappearance, I don't know. Did it have anything to do with it? Ray admitted to sending money to Gray and Carl on occasion, which seems to explain why they had called his house looking for him. As far as their possible involvement in Ruby's disappearance, Ray seemed to imply the men could have had something to do with it because they'd called asking for money a few weeks prior. And when Ray had said no, the men had threatened to resort to other means to get it. Cue your Dr. Evil, other means to get it.
So he was in a relationship with them.
Yes.
And then they just gallivanted down to Lubbock and then just called him when they needed money.
Yeah, man.
Man, that's a weird relationship.
It is.
We'll just call you anytime we need money.
It's hard for me to, they were all three living together. And
Doesn't matter what type of relationship it was. That's not
right. Friends or,
not awesome.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe Ray was third wheel because look up pictures of Ray. He's just kind of a short, fat, little dumpy guy with a thin mustache, and maybe these other guys were maybe these other guys were hot, you know. And after a while, they were like, "We don't need Ray. Let's go to Lubbock and just live it up."
But we need his money.
Right.
Because Ray was probably the only one that was employed, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he was the only one that had money. Like Gray Chandler and the other guy whose name Carl, they were kind of drifters. Ray was rooted, you know. He had money.
So you can be pro that community, but also racist. That's a strange thing.
Yeah, I tell you what.
Well, I mean, we're saying he's racist. He said one thing.
Right.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
And it was just kind of a guess.
Yeah. Maybe he was
So-
grasping at straws.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
We went a little bit too far on that. It was funny to call him racist. That's the only reason why I love doing it. So, I don't know. Poor guy's just getting, called about for money randomly.
Yeah. Yeah. He was complicated. He was a complicated guy. And like I said in the outset, we're going to get into that now. Not in episode 3. Okay? You guys don't have to wait any longer. Had these guys, Carl and Gray, kidnapped Ruby for a ransom? The men denied that and offered an alibi. they claimed they were hours away in Lubbock at a hotel with friends, partying it up. Okay? A few calls and some legwork by the FBI and Lubbock PD confirmed via several witnesses and hotel receipts that the pair had indeed been in Lubbock at the time of Ruby's kidnapping. Mark out those two names.
Okay.
So now Ray, alibi. Carl and Gray, alibi. Okay?
I mean, the receipts help the other part where you're just like, witnesses said they were with them. I always hate that for an alibi.
I know.
He's got a solid alibi. His friend said he was with them. Oh, okay.
I have a question, Ivan.
What?
If I called you just in the middle of the night on a random day, and if I was just like, Ivan, if anyone asks you, I was with you last night at 11 p.m., would you just go with it? Like if the FBI or if the police showed up, would you just go with would you do that?
I mean, there's a lot of circumstances. There's a lot of other elements that you'd need to tell me before I would just go with it. If it was like you just called me really fast and said that,
That's all I did. That's all I did.
FBI was at my door in the next 5 minutes, I would. Oh man, I'd have to roll on you, man.
Oh.
And I would hope you'd roll on me too, because we do all this true crime stuff and we see how all this stuff like affects people's families.
Yeah.
I mean, we know better than anyone, or as good as anyone, not better, but we know as good as anyone like what this stuff does to families and people.
That's true.
You know I hate to say that.
I want to tell a story.
Go.
About 22 years ago,
Yeah?
you and I went to see the Gym Blossoms
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
And then we hung out with the Gym Blossoms
Yeah.
after the show.
Just Robin, but yeah.
Yeah, which was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Remember we walked around to their trailer?
Yeah.
And Robin looked at us through the trailer and then pulled the blinds.
Yeah.
And for a minute we were like, screw Gym Blossoms. And then he came walking out,
Yeah.
you know? And it was amazing, man, because God dang, the Gym Blossoms are such a big part of our childhoods.
Yeah, I
anyway,
got in
having
trouble
said
for
that,
that night.
look, guys, there's been times in my life, a couple of times, that look, man, the truth is I just wasn't a very good person. You know, my life has been like most of the time I've been.
How are you linking the Gin Blossoms to this?
I will, trust me.
Okay.
You'll remember when I tell the story.
Okay.
Most, like 98% of my life, I've been a good person with a conscience, and I'm like, man, I don't want to stir the pot, I just want to do right. But man, there's been a couple times in my life, I'm open on this podcast, I've kind of went off the rails. Don't know why. I don't know what was going on, but I wasn't a good person. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
This is one of those times. And I told you, I was like, hey man, because you went home to your family after the Gym Blossoms. I had other plans. I was not in a good state of mind. I was like, hey Ivan, I'm going and doing this, and you're going home, you're being a good person. So like at some point,
I wasn't alibying for the FBI.
right? No, but still, at some point, you were called by my then wife, and you were like, hey, where's Joey? Because you were like, I don't know, we parted hours ago, and I went home. Right? She calls me, and I'm not a good person, man. I lied to her. I'm like, well, she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm in line to go to the bathroom, still at the concert. And she's like, oh, I just talked to Ivan, and he's at home. He was asleep. And I was like, oh, that too. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
And that was good, man. That was like,
Well, wait, I actually think it was like one of those things where I was woken up and I was like half out of it.
You were, I wasn't even mad at you. You were barely awake, and you were just like, what? And dude, I was a piece of crap at the time. I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing. It's okay, man. It's like, it's okay. Trust me. So that was one of those cases where, it was.
Yeah,
I needed to be rolled over on because if you're not a good person, you got to pay the price.
Yeah,
at some point.
So you did. Speaking of apples and oranges from the last episode, I think, but that's two different things.
Yeah,
like I
hadn't murdered anyone.
No,
I'd like to state that.
No,
But-
you better make that clear.
But still, I mean, just being a piece of crap person.
True crime podcaster admits to murder on episode of another crime. You can't make this stuff up.
No, but it's almost just as bad when you're supposed to be a stand-up guy and taking care of your family, and you're out doing stupid crap.
Mark Twain says
It's almost just as bad.
if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said.
Yeah, that's true.
It's way easier. And it's really, I read a thing about this not too long ago. It's really just like, if you're remembering, it's like low level thinking skills.
Yeah.
If you have to create a story, then you have to, you know, and all the loose ends don't tie up. So it's like it's mentally difficult.
Yep. And I want to talk, listen, anyone listening, listen, nobody's perfect, right? Everyone has had mistakes. Everyone's made mistakes and probably done things they regret and are ashamed of or whatever. This podcast, like I've spoken to many people that listen to it. This is like an open book type thing, right? There are people listening that have been through the same things that I have and stuff. And I just going to tell those people, you are not your mistake, right?
Sure.
Like if you've went off the rails or been stupid once or twice in your life, that doesn't define like the other 95% of your life. That's a lesson that I've had to learn. It's taken me a long time and I still am working on learning it. But, you know, that's not who you are. You're not the stupid mistake or the whatever period in your life, you know, that you were for.
To go even deeper,
2% of your whole life.
You're also not the bad things that have happened to you.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You're not. That's not you.
That's not you at all.
That's a verb, not a noun.
Yeah. Somehow we've went from like ridiculous dad jokes to like really deep stuff like childhood trauma and past mistakes.
It goes fast. It jumps fast.
But I'm serious, you're not.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Yeah, 417-4Mantis. If you're having a problem with dealing with something from your past, we're the people you want to call.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have money for any licensed therapists,
then
I
call
guess,
us.
If we're your last resort,
yeah,
we'll be your resort.
Hey, listen, man, we're all in our mid-40s, pushing 50 or so. We're middle-aged. We've lived life. We've seen some shit. We've done some dumb things. I've got some advice I can give you. So,
yeah,
call us.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, the best thing to do, look, if you go to AA, you don't want the leader of AA to be some guy that's never taken a drink. You want the leader of AA that's helping you to be sober and stuff to be some guy that's went through the shit.
Yeah.
He's been through it. He knows what it's like, right? Yep. You want that guy. So, all right.
Yep. Sure.
Shall we continue?
Let's continue. Very good.
As Ray continued to talk, he made a dramatic shift from the previous rosy portrayal of his missing wife. The following is a word-for-word account from his later statement to police.
Okay.
He shifts wildly on his description of Ruby.
Okay.
Here we go. Ray's words. I'm reading what Ray said.
Okay.
Forgive me. From the very beginning of my marriage to Mrs. Stapleton, I was aware that she had no regard for personal hygiene or appearance and constantly embarrassed me and the children. She wouldn't bathe with any regularity, and she would wear her underclothing until it actually fell apart from filth. During the first week of our marriage, I actually gagged while trying to have sex with my wife because of her terrible body odor. And things never got better. My sex life with Miss Stapleton became unbearable and actually has caused me to have no desire for female sex.
Well, this'll solve her crime, won't it?
They're like, what? Listen, to summarize what Ray just said, he blamed his wife for turning him gay. He literally blamed, she was so gross that I was like, women, ew. I switched teams. This is what Ray was saying. Okay. This was brought on by time and time again, my having discontinued our sex acts because I had lost my composure due to her unbearable body odor and filthy condition.
I don't believe any of this stuff.
I don't either. We'll get to that. I don't believe it. Not a word of this is true.
I thought you were going to say the guy. So you should get your scent dogs out because you'll have a very good chance of finding her.
Right. Ruby was a beautiful young lady. She was
college professor. I'm sure she.
This is all
not true.
Listen,
this is him having to explain to these cops that of his lifestyle.
Listen,
which is fine.
I feel bad. Look, it was I was surely not easy being a gay man in the early 60s. So obviously he didn't want to marry a woman, but he only did it because it was like the social, this is what you're supposed to do. And I honestly think, if you're not attracted to females, it would be disgusting to try to do anything with a female, right? I just think this was a mental thing. Like he was so not attracted to females.
So you think he believes this? Is that what you're saying?
I think he may almost believe this. Just think about it. If you're listening to me and you're a male right now, let's just choose that, and you're straight. Imagine living in a society where you had to marry another male and have relations with that male, right? If you're a straight male and you're attracted to females, how, right? I'm trying to put people in the place of this gay dude in the early 60s having to marry a female, a gender he has no attraction to whatsoever.
I see what you're saying. I think it's way more plausible that he's just making this up to make himself look better in front of these people in the 60s that would just despise him for that could despise him for being that way.
So you think he was genuinely trying to convince them that she had turned him gay through her, like, just complete...
Yeah. And then maybe he was just trying to make up for the fact that he had a family here and he never saw them. Maybe he was just trying to explain that away. It's like, well, I had to go all the way to Illinois to get away from her stench.
Wow. What a piece of crap, though.
I know, either.
Really? Your missing wife, you're just like, she stunk so bad. I couldn't even.
That's what I was about to go to, right? I was going to go to that right then. Like, yeah, is this a good time to bring all this up? Does this help in any case?
Where do you think your wife could be? Well, first of all, she stank like hell. No, it doesn't. It has nothing to do with it. Like, why are you saying all this? I don't know. I had it in my mind that mentally...
have killed her. I couldn't get anywhere near her.
Right. I don't know. I had this whole thing in my mind where... he was so not attracted to women that forcing himself to try to do anything like that with a woman was mentally... It was gross. He did gag.
Yeah.
Like it, right?
Yeah.
If you held a gun to my head... So, yeah, that was my thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's more plausible he's just trying to save face. But, I mean, I don't know.
As Forrest Gump would say, maybe it was a little of both.
That's true.
Right?
Mom always had a way of explaining things. Yeah, gotcha.
Right, so... Ray continues. This is Ray. I have had homosexual tendencies from infancy due to the lack of love and affection, and this fact, coupled with my sexless life with Miss Stapleton, caused me to experiment with homosexuality while I was at Harding College. So he's also blaming, like, he got no love as a child from his parents or something. I just want to say, dude, you just are what you are. It's the, but maybe he's trying to, like, it's the early 60s, right? It's a different culture, so he's trying to come up with... this is why I can't help it. Or
that's what I think.
Right?
I totally think that's what he's doing.
This is what caused it.
He may not even know that's what he's doing, but I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah. When in reality, he's just that way, man. Well, okay. I don't know.
You be you, bro.
Right. But I don't even know. I'd be like, okay, Mr. Stapleton, why are you telling me this? What does it have to do with your wife being missing?
It almost make me like question him a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe not take him off. Of course, he's got solid alibis or whatever. But
yeah, but that doesn't mean he couldn't have been involved with other people.
Yeah, like had somebody do it.
Yeah. Which is what now they're thinking because they know he has a good alibi.
Okay.
So yeah, he's blaming this on his parents, on his wife. So he starts dropping Ray Stapleton. They got name dropped. He said, "This first experiment I had was with Roy Whitfield. Roy Whitfield's somewhere like shit. Come on, man. Right? Like you wouldn't stay where and say anything." Roy was a student at Harding College. It was, I don't even know if I want to read the rest of this, man. I didn't know we were going to be on live stream.
We already started.
Might
as well go for it.
I mean, it's part of the case.
It is literally part of the case, man. This is something that like Bill Curtis would read on A&E or something. Mm-hmm. This is just what Ray said. Ray and Roy. He called them petting parties. Loving and kissing, and we would, each other off. That's what they would do. That was the petting party.
Okay.
It sounds like your basic after Dawn of Mantis hangout.
What does being live streaming have anything to do? So if we weren't live streaming, you would have read that, and then
you could cut it out. Live streaming it, people just heard it, right? It's forever, but
and then give me more work later on.
Yes, exactly.
That's what he was wanting to do.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. I'm sorry. That's what I love to do.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Give me some cutting room floor stuff.
Yeah. Look, that's what was in the case file.
So he just threw out that guy's name. Did he throw out other names?
Yeah.
And those people become a suspect.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I understand why, but I don't know.
Like gay or straight, either way, if someone dies and they find out their spouse had affairs with whoever, they're gonna be gay or straight. They're gonna be witnesses, right? Or not witnesses, but potential suspects. Way more than that with Ray. Way more. but however many people, yeah, I think they're going to want to talk to each one of those people because one of those people could have had some sort of,
It's true. Okay.
something against Ruby that they'd want her out of the picture.
That makes sense.
For the next few hours, Ray meticulously detailed every aspect of his life for the next several years. Countless lovers and rendezvous with students, faculty, friends, hitchhikers, and nameless wanderers. Ray was a busy guy. I will tell you that. And although the tale he wove was certainly salacious and unconventional, nothing he reported seemed to have any ties with Ruby's abduction. So he was just freaky with whoever was down to get freaky, but so far they couldn't tie any of those people to Ruby. Also, all joking aside, it's funny I put that. Those are obviously idiotic reasons to use for the record.
I'm sure later kids found out about this and were pretty mad that he said all this.
Oh, they were furious, yeah.
Oh, do you have that?
Yeah, and who would say that about your missing wife?
It's not relevant.
It's gross. It's not relevant.
Probably
it's
not even true.
It's demeaning. I'm sure it wasn't true. Marie Claire and Clarita even said, like, no, the house was always spotless.
Yeah, that's what you
Ruby
said
was
earlier.
always well put together. What are you talking about? She was disgusting. Like, it's all silly. Even though they'd had no luck with the financial angle, all was not lost. Investigators now knew that Ray Stapleton was not at all the man he'd first presented himself to be, and also that he had secrets. Not only sexually, but financially as well. While going through Ray's bank accounts, it was discovered that he'd paid out fairly large sums of money to people over the last few years. When asked to explain why, there were certain transactions Ray refused to get into because the money was involved in, as he called it, illegal activities. So he straight out said, oh, that check for $8,000? Not telling you about that one because it was illegal.
I would tell you, but that's illegal.
It was illegal. I ain't telling you about that one.
But he told about all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. It must have been really bad, I guess.
Well, it's possible that the illegal activities were in relation to Ray's sexual activities, and he probably didn't want to implicate and thus expose the other party, who was still closeted at the time. So, what I mean to say is, I don't think it was really illegal activities. He'd been blackmailed by several people. He had had sexual relationships with several men. Everyone was closeted at the time, right? Almost every guy was closeted that was gay. And so they'd had relations. Unfortunately for Ray, several, apparently, of these guys later on had blackmailed him and said, hey, man, if you don't give me X amount of money, I'm going to expose you for being a homosexual, which in 1963 was, oh, no, right?
Yeah.
So I think the large, no, I paid that $5,000 to X amount, this guy.
Well, it's not legal to blackmail.
He paid the money to, he then would have had to have told the person.
That's true.
And then that would, so to Ray's credit, he kind of took the fall on a few fronts to keep, whoever's names he had relationships with private.
You definitely want to know that if you were investigating it.
Yeah.
Like if he didn't do something he was supposed to, they could have said, well, then we'll kill your ex-wife or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which was kind of what he said later on.
Yeah.
Also, it's believed some of Ray's previous deposits into Ray's accounts, money not from any obvious source of income. In this case, Ray had an explanation, and it did check out. Years earlier, Ruby had purchased several properties near the Harding campus. She was a smart woman and knew that the college would eventually expand and require more land. So early on, she got in there and bought the land around it. Pretty smart.
Smart, yeah.
She'd been correct and had recently sold 4 of those properties. In June of today's money, drum roll please, $134,000.
Wow.
Okay. Ray claimed he'd told Ruby he was finally going to file for divorce. He called her and said, I'm out. So this whole time, Ray kind of did one out, but Ruby was the one that was like, please don't. She begged him not to and actually offered half of the money from the sale of those properties on the condition that Ray dropped the divorce. And he agreed. So that is why a check from Ruby in the amount of $7,617 was deposited into Ray's account. That's over $75,000 today.
Yeah.
She paid him $75,000 to stay married.
I really think.
I want $75K or I'm bouncing. That'll go over well.
Yeah, it'll work.
She'll be like, your
Solid
suitcase is
plan.
right there.
Yeah.
Here's your car keys.
Yeah.
See ya. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's how much in some social circles and religious contexts, women and men at the time would literally put up with anything rather than be again. She got divorced. I think there was such a stigma attached to it at the time that people would go through all kinds of crap just to not, you know,
I agree.
don't have that. Despite going over Ray's finances with a fine-tooth comb, the FBI failed to find anything that implicated him in Ruby's disappearance. Having said that, money still could have played a role because it was no secret that the Stapletons had just sold those properties and made quite a lot of cash. It was even put in the paper.
Okay.
Like, it was out there. We'll do more on that later. With Ray's finances seemingly on the level and partners that he had given them, and let me tell you, like I just said earlier, Ray was a busy boy. It was a long list.
They put some miles on the car running down all those leads, didn't they?
Investigators believed the person or persons responsible for Ruby's disappearance may very well have been a previous lover of Ray's, and the list included past students and faculty at Harding, as people like Carl Karash and Gray Chandler. There were yet many more people whose names Ray never in my hotel. All I can tell you is he had a handlebar mustache and sideburns. Right? That was literally like, I didn't even catch that dude's name. Right?
He needed some hobbies or something.
He just...
Come on.
That was his hobby.
Try needlepoint.
Needlepoint.
Or something.
Collect stamps, Ray. Good God, man.
Yeah.
You're living on the edge. Do something different.
Collect stamps, not tramps.
So it's amazing how there must have been like a network because there was such a stigma at the time. It was not socially accepted to be gay. I'm like, how did he just blow into a town, get a job, and just automatically find the 5 gay people in that town to have hookups with? Was there like an underground, you know, I'm being serious. Was there had to have been. Because imagine being of that persuasion in a society where it was damned. Roots. I bet there were ways that these people could get a hold of each other. There was an underground community.
Probably.
There had to have been.
I don't know how it worked, but
I don't either.
Probably were. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, how else? Like, how else could this guy, like, he would be teaching at a college just for 4 months and would have a girl at a Waffle House that's serving pancakes, and you kind of like her, and then you sort of start talking to her, and then over the course of, like, you know, 2 months, you might get her number, or maybe I'm just an incredibly slow worker on that front.
He could have just been a pretty bold dude that whenever he met people, he could have just thrown that out there. Maybe he didn't care.
But it seems so dangerous at that time to just, you know, it seems so dangerous. Just think, like, if you're closeted like he was, and the end of, like, you know, that's such a cautious thing, you know? Like, if you're at a dinner party and you see somebody else, you're like, I kind of like him, but shit, who knows? Who knows, right? How do you go about that?
I have no idea.
Like, by statistically, most people are straight. So you're already on, like, a lower, like, the chances of this person.
I'm sure someone's done some research on it. I mean,
Am I thinking way too much into this?
No, I'm sure someone's done some research on it. It's probably out there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It must be. And I'm sure, like, there've always been people like that, obviously, because that's just part of humanity. So I think all throughout history, they have had to have, like, well, not now. Now everything's out in the open. It's fine. But back then, I think that you were probably forced to have, you know, whatever underground communications or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll stop talking about that. I went way too far on that. You're like, okay, let's just move on.
No, well, I
was just trying to think, like, it was so stigmatized back in those days. How did people connect? How did people connect?
Definitely risk. It'd be a bad time to have to live that.
Yeah, like look, Downton Abbey. I watched it with my wife. There was one of the footmen that is gay, and there's another dude that he thinks is 100%. Like, I know this guy is, and he makes a move on him, and the guy's not, and he's like, "Oh, get away from me, you sick bastard!" And it's this whole ordeal, right? I imagine, like, it would be so dangerous.
You'd probably befriend them first, and then make sure that they wouldn't kill you. and then you would ask. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll
don't
move
know.
on from that. I think we spent way too much time on that. There were many more people whose names Ray never even knew. There was one name that Ray had not divulged to detectives, but they were very aware of. James Doherty. Let's remember that name. Ray nearly came out of his chair when they brought it up. So he had divulged all these names, and they were like, "Hey, we noticed you didn't say James Doherty." And he's like, "Oh, what? How do you know what? Right? Seriously." He was like, "How did you know about that guy?" Well, James was definitely not a passing fancy or a one-night stand. Ray opened up about him. Ray had fallen in love with James Doherty, right? This was a relationship, one of the only ones that he said months into their relationship, he traveled to Canton, Texas to meet James' parents. And that is when he learned that James, a little bit of a speed bump here, was 15.
Oh.
oh no,
Yeah. He's what now? James, apparently, according to Ray, James had not told him this when he went to meet his parents.
yeah, but he had to know he was young.
Yeah, right? I don't know under what context he went to meet the parents. I'm sure it wasn't like, "Hey, here's my older boyfriend." I'm sure it was like, maybe here's a mentor. I don't know. I don't know how that went down.
Yikes.
But regardless, after Ray found out the kid was 15, he still kept seeing him. And although they hadn't lived together in some time, Ray kept constant communication with him. James now had a common law wife, and Ray was always pressuring James to leave her and come stay with him, even offering to pay his entire college tuition in return. So James lives with Ray for a short time, then they split. They have kind of a weird on again, off again. James is either bi or confused because then he has a girlfriend that he stays with long enough to become a common law wife. And then Ray's over here pissed off, right? Because, oh, dude, I thought we had something, and here you are with this girl and your common law wife. That's where we're standing right now. Ray said he had recently grown tired of James' indecisiveness and broken things off, and then suggested that James and his common law wife may have kidnapped Ruby for ransom because they knew about the recent sale of the properties to Harding College. However, both James Doherty and his wife were eliminated as suspects because they were nowhere near Cersei on the night of the 8th, and none of the other people on Ray's list were panning out either. I would like to say here that I think Ray was just pissed still at James and was kind of throwing him under the bus as far as his accusation of him maybe kidnapping Ruby.
I know what Ray did do. I think he wasted a lot of time on this investigation. Because if they had to run down all these leads, think about all the manpower that took.
Yeah, it was a lot. There were so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're about to say they didn't find anything in any of these leads, that was a big waste of time.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you for giving us 1,000 suspects.
Yeah. What is your list of lovers, Ray Stapleton? And they're probably expecting like the average person is like 5 to 10 or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, volume 1.
Yeah. And some of them, I don't even know their name.
Right. This guy had a mole on his cheek.
Of course, I guess if he didn't know them, they're probably not a suspect because they wouldn't know him to know his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe they would be interested more in the people that he had connections with.
Yeah. Still, man, Ray, you slowed this whole thing down. And a 15-year-old, man.
Yeah, man.
I liked you better when you were a racist.
He never like that, just kind of, he never faced charges or no. I don't know how that panned out, but as far as I know, he never saw any
Statute of limitations or something? I don't even know.
Needless to say, not much progress had been made in Ruby's case that first week. Detectives were flabbergasted as to how a well-known church-going woman with no known enemies.
See an anemone.
This is the really real part of the podcast. Could simply vanish from a well-lit laundromat in the middle of a town and leave no trace behind. It is weird. Definitely. By the way, this is a very Maude Crawford type. Even though Maude disappeared from her own kitchen while she was snapping green beans, doesn't this give you like Maude Crawford vibes?
Yeah, it does.
Because she was also like at a university and like a well-known staple of the community.
Except her husband was awesome.
Yeah. Her husband was cool. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Anyway, but yeah, very different husbands. But yeah. By the way, I'd like to say Maud Crawford got us a really cool list. I can't remember the gentleman's name, and I apologize, but I was approached a few weeks ago by a gentleman who purely organically found our podcast. He just said, I heard about this Maud Crawford case, so I Googled it, or I looked at it, on like iTunes podcast. And he said, I found 2 or 3 on Maud Crawford. I tried to listen. They were boring. And I found your episode. We did like 4 or 5 episodes on her.
Anything but boring.
And he said, 10 minutes in, I was like, these are my guys. And he's been listening to us ever since. So that was cool. He organically found us.
Yeah.
Just through pure, I think that's how anyone has found us, other than kind of word of mouth.
Yeah.
But many people have messaged us and said, I just wanted to listen to a podcast on Buddy Holly, and I happened to find yours. And then they become a listener. That's how we got Ken.
Yeah.
One of our best buds to this day.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Buddy Holly got us a lot of cool people. Anyway, the question of where in God's name is Ruby Stapleton was on the minds of virtually everyone in Cersei. And 11 days after her disappearance, that question was answered, though not at all in the manner anyone had hoped. And we all know. At 5:15 on the evening of October 19th, a young man named Jerry Bass was walking just north of the little town of Beebe through the woods of Apple Road and along Bull Creek.
How far away is that?
15, 20 miles.
Okay.
Very close. There, by the creek bed and near a small bridge and a 13-foot embankment, he found a nude, decomposed body. Jerry rushed to fetch his father, who, thinking it may have just been a rotting animal, returned with Jerry to identify what he'd seen. His father had not only instantly knew that it was indeed a human body, he also knew it must be the missing body of the professor from Cersei. This was a big deal. He was only 15 miles from Cersei.
Yeah.
This was a statewide thing. Everyone knew. Mm-hmm. And he immediately was like, I bet that's Ruby. Man. The pair alerted police, who soon arrived and confirmed the elder Bass' suspicions. The search for Ruby Stapleton suddenly became the hunt for her killer.
Yeah.
Ruby's body was collected by the White County Sheriff's Office, and her autopsy was performed by County Coroner Alan Foster that very night. A comparison of dental records confirmed what everyone already knew. This was indeed the body of Ruby Stapleton. Despite the advanced level of decomposition, a cause of death was quickly found. A broken hyoid told the tale. Ruby had been strangled to death. There was also a large wad of cotton shoved deep in her throat. Near Ruby's body were several pieces of her bra, which had been hastily cut off with a sharp object. There were several long, superficial cuts along her body as well, though they thought that they were left by whatever sharp instrument had cut off her clothing. So they don't think the body was purposefully mutilated. They think that was a byproduct of whoever had sliced the bra off and whatever, They had also got portions of her skin. Clothes removed in this nature usually indicate sexual assault, but Ruby's advanced state of decomposition made that suspicion impossible to confirm or rule out. So we do not know to this day. The following is another excerpt from the police file. The victim's body was found lying on her back, her head toward the creek bank and her feet toward the creek bed. The left leg was outstretched, the right leg was bent at the knee outward until the bottom of the right foot was parallel with the left knee. The head was turned to the left until the left side of the face rested on the ground. The left arm was extended until the upper arm was in line with the shoulder, and the forearm was bent at the elbow at an angle near 90 degrees. The back of the entire left arm and hand rested on the ground, the fingers loosely clenched. The right arm was bent at the elbow at an angle, permitting the right hand to be concealed under the right side of the back of the waist. A shallow cut extends from the left area of the vagina up the front center of the torso to a point 5 inches below the throat. Another shallow cut angles up the chest and across the upper area of the left breast to the left collarbone. 3 additional shallow cuts angle from the center of the torso at the midriff, extending up across the left chest and upper area of the left breast. A search of the immediate area revealed a button located on the creek bank in the area above the body and below the creek of this bank. A section of the belt containing the buckle and measuring about 6 inches in length was located in the creek bed at the bottom of the bank and immediately adjacent to the body. Microscopic examination of this section of the belt reveals that the belt was severed by a sharp instrument. 1/2 of a brassiere severed in the area between the cups was located under the victim's body. The belt and button have been identified by the victim's daughter as being attached to the dress worn by the victim on the night of her disappearance. That's the end of the excerpt.
Wow.
I want to say, even though it's not possible to confirm or deny it, there's too many pieces of evidence that lead to sexual assault.
Yeah.
Hastily cut off clothing and undergarments.
Yeah.
Why else?
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. That's just a theory.
Yeah.
And even if she was abducted and killed for some other purposes, I still think that element was added.
Did they talk to all her current students? Or is that something you're going to get to?
I don't know how many of the students they spoke to.
Yeah.
Of the current Harding students, I don't know. Yeah.
That would be, I mean, it seems that would be a logical place to go.
They spoke with hundreds of people, so I would venture to guess that, they probably did. News of Ruby's discovery covered the front page of every newspaper across the state of Arkansas. One of these papers caught the eye of a guy named Zell Mills, 140 miles south in Warren, Arkansas. Mills was a truck driver who hauled chickens from the Caraway processing plant in Warren, 150 miles north, up to the little town of Pangburn. Mills' route not only took him right through Searcy, but along US 67, which goes right past Harrison Grocery and the Norge Laundroma.
Okay.
So he drove right by there. Mills made that trip 5 nights a week, and it just so happens that October 8th was one of those nights. After reading about Ruby's murder, he contacted police. The following is an excerpt from the police file concerning Zell Mills' statement. Here we go. And we're almost done. We got 2 pages left. Everybody settle in. There's so much in this case, man. I had to condense it down to 3 episodes. On October 8th, 1963, Mills arrived in Searcy between 10:30 and 11 p.m. and traveled through the city onto US 67 South, passing in front of Harrison's Grocery and the Norge Laundroma on his right. On this night, he observed a white station wagon parked in front of the laundromat. He headed into the front wall of the building, in parallel with the north wall of Harrison's Grocery. That's how it was parked. He saw another vehicle described as a dark-colored late-model automobile. Here we go. It's the black sedan again.
Yeah.
This same damn car that's been spotted like half a dozen times. This car was parked in front of the building that joins the laundroma at the north wall and parallel with the east wall of this building. The dark car was parked perpendicular with the front of the vehicle pointing to the right side of the station wagon. Mills states that the laundromat was well lit and that the building adjoining it at the north was completely dark. That would be the Harrison Grocery. Mills observed one man holding a woman by the arm and leading her towards the dark late-model car parked in front of the building he literally drove by as they were pulling Ruby out to the car. He saw it.
Wow.
He literally saw it. He said that the woman appeared to be trying to pull back away from the man. Mills saw another man following them and observed that the second man also put his hands on the woman to force her into the car. He saw it.
Whoa.
This is wild. All 3 subjects were outside the laundromat and north of the station wagon and a few feet from the east wall of the establishment. Mills cannot describe the woman, only recalls that both men were wearing dark clothing, possibly suits. Guys in black suits driving a black sedan.
Men in Black.
Come on, man. Had she seen a UFO recently or something? It's too weird, right? Anyway, all 3 subjects were of the white race. No Mexicans involved. You're cleared, Ray Stapleton. Mills stated that he actually thought nothing of it at the time. He thought the parties may have been intoxicated, but that he was surprised to read in the newspapers about the disappearance of the professor, and the newspaper account caused him to wonder about the incident.
Yeah.
Oh, she disappeared from the Norge Laundroma? I drove by the Norge Laundroma, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
I can't say it. And I saw 2 guys pulling a lady out. I wonder if that's connected somehow.
That's good of him to pay attention and to, yeah.
He could not rid the matter from his mind when he learned that the victim had been found. Mills decided to report the incident to Trooper Bill while he was passing through the town later that day.
Yeah.
So he had thought about it when he read in the papers that, this lady disappeared from the laundroma. At that point, I think I may have called. If I knew a lady had disappeared from the laundroma on the night of October 8th, and I looked back and I was like, I drove through the laundroma on October 8th, and I saw 2 guys pulling a lady out. I would have called then.
Yeah.
But Zell Mills was like, I'm going to sit on this for a while.
Well, I don't know. At least he did.
Then when they
Yeah.
found the body, he's like, I should probably call.
Well, yeah.
It's so weird, but you know.
Yeah, but at least he did.
At least he did. Good on you, Mr. Mills. This statement from Mills was huge. It lined up with other witness accounts from that night, and the police now knew that there had been 2 abductors. Also, it seemed that the same black car had been seen around Ruby's home in the days prior to her disappearance, and that may have more than likely was the same car that Mills had seen outside the Laundorama that night that she was abducted.
Yeah.
On October 23rd, a large crowd gathered in the auditorium at Harding College for Ruby's funeral. Hundreds of students, dozens of Harding faculty members, and many of her friends and family were in attendance. Ray was also there, of course. The choir sang several of Ruby's favorite songs, and he reportedly sang enthusiastically along with them. I have a lot of words to read, and sometimes it's hard. His behavior was odd for a grieving husband. After the funeral, while a small group of friends and family were gathered, he exclaimed, "Well, at least she wasn't sexually assaulted."
Is that what he said?
That's what he said. Everyone's passing around the green bean casserole and sobbing and sharing memories, and he was like, everyone, ting, ting, ting. I don't know if he didn't call it toast. But he said to everybody, hey, man, at least she wasn't sexually assaulted. Which, like, no one knows that. Why'd he say that? Even at the time, the cops were like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We have no... How did he know? How would you know, sir? No one knew. No one still knows. So that's a weird thing to say.
Mr. Brightside.
Glass half full guy. Aside from this being a thing to announce at a funeral, very strange, it's also a strange statement because the coroner wasn't able to tell whether she was assaulted or not, which is what I just said. In just 2 weeks, Ruby had disappeared, been found, and laid to rest. The questions as to where she was and what had happened to her were now answered, but obviously there were many more questions yet to be answered. Who were the 2 men who abducted Ruby and killed her, and why did they do so? Did they have ties to Ray, or maybe Harding College? Were they after some of the money Ruby had recently made from the sale of those properties? Well, we will discuss those questions and get into those theories on the 3rd and final episode of the series on Ruby Stapleton. So there you go. Yeah, the number 3 is going to be a fun one. It's going to be theories.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what could have happened to this woman.
Man, I feel like Ray wasn't involved at all.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the episode, I thought he somehow was going to be, but he ended up just being a time waster.
Yeah, we'll talk about him more on episode 3, but you know, even after doing all this, I don't know. It's super weird. You know, you want to like Ray for it, but it just doesn't add up really. He may not have had anything to do with it. It's very weird. It's very weird. He was into some shady stuff, you know.
Sure.
Even with gambling and stuff that we might get into on the 3rd one.
Oh, okay.
But not even just all the liaisons and the paying out with the blackmails, but he owed some major money to some people in Vegas. He was a gambler. Yeah, it gets crazy.
Unless he went to Vegas as a married guy and said he had a wife, and then he owed some bookie some monies and some monies, whatever, however you want to.
Monies is also that's a thing too.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they saw her as still his wife, and that was one. I don't know. So maybe he could still be involved somehow.
Yeah, we'll get into it. It's a viable theory. We'll cover that theory in the next episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you all again for sitting through that with us. Tell us what you think. 4174 Mantis, and we will see you on the next episode. Good night.